There's no question that show business is a cutthroat industry. Not only is it ridiculously hard to break through and land any decent roles, it's even more challenging to maintain relevance after you do. There are countless actors who struggle for years taking on small roles with little pay before finally finding success in their 30s or even 40s. Then there are those that land a big role early in their career, but for one reason or another slowly fade into irrelevance. So what is it that separates those who make it to the top and stay there from those who don't? Well, in a lot of cases, it simply comes down to talent. You'll get actors who manage to land a role in a massive franchise but just don't have the acting chops to continue their success. Then you'll get actors who have all the ability but lack the desire to pursue the spotlight. And of course, there are those that get swept up in the world of Hollywood and destroy their own careers through drugs, alcohol, or worse. In this video, we'll look at 3 actors who had Hollywood in the palms of their hands but have now almost entirely been forgotten. Back in the day, everyone used to like Lindsay Lohan. She got her big break in the 1998 movie The Parent Trap, where she played the role of 2 identical twin sisters. After this movie's success, Lindsay landed roles in more Disney movies like 2003's Freaky Friday and 2004's Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. All signs pointed to her being a star in the making, and if there was any doubt, it went out the window with the release of 2004's Mean Girls. The movie was a massive success and catapulted Lohan to the height of her fame, and with that, she packed her bags and left her home in New York to live alone in sunny Los Angeles. This is where things started to go wrong for her, as she began blowing huge amounts of money on parties and flying her friends out to see her. She gradually became addicted to alcohol and started receiving more attention for her late night persona than her acting work. It was in 2007 that Lindsay truly went off the rails. She was admitted to rehab 3 separate times and was charged with committing numerous different crimes. In one incident, a woman called Santa Monica police saying Lohan was trying to run her down with a car. Lindsay was later charged with drunk driving, cocaine possession, and driving with a suspended license. She pleaded guilty and was sentenced to serve 1 day in jail, 10 days of community service, and 3 years of probation. She also had to pay a fine and enter an alcohol education program. At this point, Lindsay was pretty aware that she had a problem, and she told MTV, "It's clear to me that my life has become completely unmanageable because I am addicted to alcohol and drugs."
When you get the first DUI, is that a wake-up call?
A little bit. I don't think it was fully. When I say a little bit, I mean it was scary at first, but it didn't really hit me, so no.
Scary, you would have preferred not to have been caught, but it didn't say, okay, I'm not gonna do that again.
Right, because I'm an addict.
During this time, her movie career was taking a big hit as she kept being cast in bad movie after bad movie, and she built a reputation for being difficult to work with because she'd constantly show up to set late or hungover. In 2010, after more rehab stints and a period wearing an alcohol monitoring bracelet, Lohan was sentenced to 90 days in jail for failing to attend her court-ordered alcohol education classes. However, due to overcrowding, she only served 2 weeks of her sentence. Alongside her drug and alcohol issues, various allegations suggested Lindsay was a kleptomaniac. These are people with a mental health disorder where they're repeatedly unable to resist the urge to steal items they don't need. Lindsay was accused of stealing from parties, a wide variety of friends, the wardrobe departments of her own movies, and from her ex-boyfriend. In one case in 2011, it was alleged that she stole a $2,500 necklace from a jewelry shop in LA, to which she ended up pleading no contest. This, along with her substance abuse, completely destroyed her reputation, and by the time she finally started to get her act together in 2013, the damage was done. From 2007 to 2013, Lindsay had been sentenced to jail 6 times for a total of 332 days. She ultimately served 42 days and 84 minutes of jail time and 35 days on house arrest. It had been 9 years since her last popular role, and the public now saw her as a troubled addict rather than a movie star. To escape public scrutiny and get a fresh start, Lindsay decided to move to Dubai in 2014. There, she kept a relatively low profile, getting into different business ventures outside of acting. She managed to avoid negative headlines for a good while. That was until 2018, when she harassed a homeless family while on Instagram Live. Lindsay could be seen leaving her car, saying she wants to show everyone a Syrian refugee family she met that she's really worried about.
Tell me your story so I can help you. Marcella, tell me your story so I can help you. Walaikum salam. What do you need? What do you need? Wallah. Do you want me to give you a hotel?
Judging from the incoherent words she was mumbling, she was more than likely intoxicated. She continued offering to help the family, but this quickly turned into her telling the kids to come with her.
You cold? You want to come with me? Come with me. Come. Come. I'll take you with me, and then you see them tomorrow.
She then told the mother she'd get her and the kids a hotel, but she couldn't bring her husband.
Let me take them. Let them sleep. Come with me. You and me come. Just come. Just come with me. Not your husband. Just you and your kids.
The family ended up refusing her offers and tried to get away from her, but Lindsay followed them while accusing them of trafficking the children.
Look what's happening. They're trafficking children. Mashallah. I won't leave until I take you. Now I know who you are. Don't fuck with me. Hey kids. This is the Arab. This is not Arab. You're ruining Arab culture by doing this.
Lindsay wouldn't stop pursuing them, and eventually she tried to snatch one of the children away from his mother.
Give me your hand. Give me your hand. I'm like in shock right now. I don't think I can ever change.
I can't believe this is a real thing that happened. Funny how she wanted to help everyone except the father. She needs to be arrested, straight up harassing these poor people. Lindsay has been her own worst enemy over the years, and even with years away from the limelight, this incident showed that hadn't really changed. But even with all the messed up things Lindsay did, she's not looked down upon quite as much as James Franco. There was a point in time where James Franco was one of the biggest names in Hollywood, collaborating with his good friend Seth Rogen on projects like This Is the End, Pineapple Express, and The Interview. He also starred in blockbusters like Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Spider-Man. Everything was going great for Franco up until 2014 when he slipped up for the first time. While starring in Of Mice and Men on Broadway, he took a selfie with a 17-year-old girl outside the theater. She tagged him in the photo so he was able to contact her, and they began exchanging messages on Instagram. Franco didn't waste any time, immediately asking whether she's 18, who she's with, and if she has a boyfriend, to which she replied saying she's not 18, she's with her mum, and she doesn't have a boyfriend if he's around. Despite knowing her age, Franco proceeded to ask which hotel she's staying at and if he should rent a room. After she began to question his identity, he took a picture of himself with a piece of paper with her name written on it. But in the end, the girl decided against meeting him, and screenshots of their conversation were leaked. Shortly after the story got out, Seth Rogen appeared on Saturday Night Live where he made a joke about Franco's relations with a young woman.
I decided to prank James Franco. I posed as a girl on Instagram. Told him I was way young. He seemed unfazed. I have a date to meet him at the Ace Hotel.
This was a joke he later came to regret after the truth of Franco's perversions came to light a few years later. In 2018, several allegations of sexual misconduct were made against Franco by former pupils of his acting school, Studio 4. This came after Franco won an award at the Golden Globes while wearing a Time's Up badge. Time's Up is a movement fighting against sexual harassment in the workplace, and given the experiences these women said they had with Franco, they saw him wearing the badge as a slap in the face. Of the many women that tweeted about it, one wrote, "Hey James Franco, nice Time's Up pin at the Golden Globes. Remember a few weeks ago when you told me the full nudity you had me do in 2 of your movies for $100 a day wasn't exploitative because I signed a contract to do it. Time's up on that." Shortly after this, a report was published by the Los Angeles Times in which some of his old students revealed disturbing stories about him. Apparently, Franco would get angry if women on set refused to go topless, and he routinely abused his position of power, leading to some situations which were genuinely shocking and not safe for YouTube.
He's definitely got two personalities, and that doesn't mean he doesn't have a great sweet side, but when he has his other side, it's the complete polar opposite.
I don't even know what I'm allowed to say. That's the scary thing, is like I'm terrified for my career. It was a lot of nudity and sex scenes that I felt were not artistically justified and were added in after the fact.
Following the accusations, Franco appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, where he claimed the things being said were not accurate.
The things that I heard that were on Twitter are not accurate, but I completely support people coming out and being able to have a voice, because I didn't have a voice for so long. So I don't wanna, you know, shut them down in any way. It's I think a good thing, and I support it.
1 year later, in 2019, 2 of his former pupils filed a class action lawsuit against him. The suit alleged that Franco sought to create a pipeline of young women who were subjected to his personal and professional sexual exploitation in the name of education, with the promise of potential roles in his films for those who took part. Despite continuing to deny the women's allegations, a settlement was reached in February 2021, where Franco and 2 other men named in the lawsuit agreed to pay out $2,235,000. In light of all this, Franco's reputation in Hollywood was ruined, and many actors no longer wanted to work with him. Most notably, Seth Rogen came out saying he doesn't condone abuse or harassment of any kind, and he has no intention of working with Franco going forward. On their path to career suicide, both James Franco and Lindsay Lohan left a trail of destruction behind them, but not all failed Hollywood careers are the result of reprehensible behavior. In the case of Taylor Lautner, it simply came down to not knowing how to play the hand he was dealt. During the era of teen romance movies, Twilight took the world by storm. The story followed Bella Swan, played by Kristen Stewart, as she navigated her relationships with vampire Edward Cullen and werewolf Jacob Black. While the movies were generally slammed by critics, they developed a cult-like fanbase. Twilight became one of the highest-grossing film franchises ever, beating out movies like The Hunger Games and Toy Story, and with that came a world of fame and fortune for its 3 leading actors. It seemed like all the pieces were in place for them to have successful careers, and while Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart have, the same can't be said for Taylor Lautner. Lautner's first leading role outside of Twilight can only be described as a disaster. He starred in the action movie Abduction, which came out in 2011. The film follows Lautner's character as he tries to figure out his real identity after coming across a baby photo of himself on a missing persons website. The hope was that the film would set him up to become a standalone movie star, but sadly it had the opposite effect. Abduction suffered from an absurd plotline and cringy dialogue, which was made worse by Lautner's mediocre performance. It failed to make an impact at the box office, taking $28 million domestically on a budget of $35 million. Now, it's not uncommon for actors to star in a bad movie here and there, but Abduction was universally panned by critics, getting a dreadful 5% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. This immediately made film studios wary of casting Lautner as a leading man, especially because he was demanding so much money to take a role. Over the years that followed, he barely got cast in anything, aside from a lackluster cameo in Grown Ups 2, where he played a frat boy. He eventually returned in 2015 and 2016 with 3 movies which again performed poorly both critically and financially, and it looks like the days of Taylor's Hollywood success were behind him. Movie offers completely dried up because producers had no confidence that his name would attract eyeballs, and his awful track record in the box office was a huge red flag. Meanwhile, his Twilight co-stars had found success in completely different roles and moved forward with their careers, but Taylor was still only known for playing Jacob Black. The nail in the coffin came when he underwent a significant body transformation, putting on a lot of body fat and losing his chiseled physique. And without even his looks to fall back on, Lautner quickly faded from the movie business altogether.
I thought I looked fine, but then seeing it online where they put the side-by-sides and being like, wow, he's let it all go. I was like, oh man. Did I really let it all go?
He didn't star in a movie from 2016 all the way up to 2022, when he returned to play a football coach in Netflix's sports comedy movie Home Team. But once again, the movie was just forgettable. What made it worse was that same year, after a string of successful movies, Robert Pattinson reached the peak of his career by becoming the new Batman. This served as a painful reminder of where Lautner's career could have been if he just made the right moves.